When do your precious babies stop being human to you? I'm asking sincerely because from the outside it looks like there's a moment, some invisible line where an unborn baby you fought so hard to save suddenly becomes disposable the minute it's actually born. I mean, you'll march for that heartbeat, you'll scream at women outside clinics, you'll call yourself a defender of life. And then the second that life becomes complicated, needy, traumatized, undocumented, hungry, unhoused, addicted, queer, sick, or simply inconvenient, your compassion collapses like a tent somebody forgot to stake down. And I just keep wondering, do you think babies skip the process of becoming adults? Do you think the person battling addiction on the corner just materialized from dust? That the unhoused veteran you step over just appeared that way? That the pregnant teen you shame wasn't once a wide-eyed baby you claim to defend in the womb? Every single one of those people you condemn was once an unborn baby someone chose to bring into the world. A baby someone rocked at 2 a.m. A baby you claim to love until reality ruins the fantasy for you. Because that's what this really is, isn't it? You don't love people. You love an idea of innocence that never talks back, never needs therapy, never questions your politics, never reminds you of the systems you refuse to change. You'll legislate what someone can do with their uterus, but you won't legislate access to childcare. You'll force a birth, then fight against paid leave. You'll block food programs and call it fiscal responsibility. You'll gut public schools and then act shocked when babies you insisted be born grow up in cycles of poverty and desperation. You'll look at a family struggling to feed the same baby you demanded they give birth to and sneer about personal responsibility. And then there's your politics. You'll obsess over a 6-week embryo, but you won't blink when children are slaughtered in their classrooms because you refuse to pass even the most basic gun reform. You'll clutch your pearls over life, but shrug at sexual assault allegations because they're politically inconvenient for you. You'll preach about protecting innocence, then cheer for leaders who let actual living, breathing human beings starve without medical care in the richest nation on earth. You'll vote for people who tear families apart at the border. Kids in cages somehow don't trigger the same moral panic as a woman choosing not to be pregnant. Mothers watching their babies grow up hungry, sick, or homeless somehow don't count as pro-life issues. Tell me, when did these lives become unprecious to you? Is it when they cross a border? When they age out of the womb and into a world you refuse to make safer? When they stop being a political prop and start being a person with needs? You say you're defending the least of these, right? But your mercy has a very strict expiration date. You'll cry over an unborn baby you've never met, but roll your eyes at an unhoused person who can't just get a job. You'll rage about murdered babies and then support policies that happily send other people's grown babies into endless wars and call it freedom. You'll insist every pregnancy must be carried to term and then call it personal responsibility when that same mother can't afford rent, daycare, insulin, therapy, or groceries for the baby you forced her to have. You don't understand any kind of process, not the process of a baby becoming a child, a teen, an adult, a human being shaped by every force you pretend doesn't exist. You act like a sweet unborn baby you insisted must be born just woke up one day as a criminal, a junkie, an illegal, a thug, a problem. As if there wasn't a lifetime lived in between. As if trauma, abuse, poverty, racism, medical debt, and neglect are just background noise instead of the very conditions that shape who someone becomes. And honestly, I mean, I guess it tracks because you don't understand political or historical processes either. You don't grasp how slow erosion works in government or in people. Which is exactly why you mock No King's Day, sneering that we don't even have a king, as if authoritarianism just drops out of the sky fully formed. You don't see the steps. You don't see the drift. You don't see the danger building piece by piece. Right? And that's the point. If you can't recognize how tyranny grows gradually, no wonder you can't recognize how human beings do. If you can't understand how societies change over time, no wonder you can't understand how babies, the very babies you demand be born, grow into the adults you condemn. Because whether it's a democracy eroding or a child becoming a person, nothing happens overnight. There are roots, there are causes, there's a whole story before the part you choose to judge. And I can't help wonder how you parent, how you explain mistakes or growth or second chances to your own kids. What happens if your child becomes one of those people you condemn so easily? The addict, the teen parent, the kid who comes out as queer or trans, the one who gets arrested, the one who can't keep it together, who breaks under the weight of expectations you helped pile on them. Do they stop being lovable too? Do they cross that same invisible line where your mercy dries up? Do they transform in your mind from my precious baby to they made their choices overnight? Because that's the part that haunts me. Deep down, that life is a process. When it comes to your baby, every scraped knee, every meltdown, every bad decision has a story behind it. You have to know context matters when it's your family. But when it's someone else's baby, someone else's body, someone else's country, suddenly context is making excuses. It's heartbreaking to watch people who call themselves pro-life treat actual living lives as disposable the moment they become inconvenient. Not because I expect perfection, but because I do expect consistency. If life matters, then it matters in all its stages, from the womb, to the border, to the shelter, to the street, to the prison, to the protest, to the hospital bed where someone's choosing between their medication and their rent. Right? It matters when she says, I'm not ready to be pregnant. It matters when he says, I can't breathe under all this debt. It matters when they say, I am not safe here. It matters when people are trapped in abusive homes, when they're fleeing war, when they're screaming for help in languages you don't bother to understand. You can't weaponize the word life at the beginning and abandon it everywhere else. You don't get to shame women for choosing what happens to their own bodies while cheering for policies that discard everybody that doesn't serve your comfort. You don't get to demand birth and then wash your hands of everything that comes after. So I'll ask you again, not in anger, but in sorrow, at what point does a human being stop being human to you? Where is that line? Is it a birthday, a border crossing, a diagnosis, a mugshot, a skin color, a political party? And when you finally find that line, when you look at it honestly, tell me, how do you live with the wreckage it leaves behind? And more importantly, how do you still dare to call that pro-life? Let me know in the comments.